There once was a man who spent his entire life waiting. Not waiting for a bus, not waiting for a person, he was waiting for the perfect moment. Every morning he woke up with dreams in his heart. He wanted to start a business, write a book, travel the world, build a life he was proud of. But every time he was about to begin, a voice inside his head whispered, "Not yet. You need more money. You need more experience. You need more confidence." And so he waited. One day became 1 week became 1 month became 1 year. And before he realized it, years of his life had quietly slipped away. As a young man, he believed he had all the time in the world. He watched successful people and told himself, "One day, I'll do something great too." He bought books he never read. He enrolled in courses he never finished. He made plans he never followed. His notebooks were filled with ideas. His mind was filled with possibilities, but his life remained exactly the same. Not because he lacked talent, not because he lacked intelligence, but because he was waiting for the perfect moment. The strange thing about waiting is that it feels productive. You convince yourself you're preparing. You tell yourself you're being responsible. You tell yourself you're thinking things through. But deep down, you're simply afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of discovering that you're not as capable as you hoped. So instead of taking action, you wait. The man did exactly that. When he was 25, he said, "I'll start when I have enough savings." When he was 30, he said, "I'll start when I have more experience." When he was 35, he said, "I'll start when life becomes less complicated." When he was 40, he said, "Maybe next year." But next year always became another excuse. One evening, after a long day, the man sat alone by his window. The room was silent, the city lights flickered outside, and for the first time in many years, he asked himself a question he had been avoiding. What am I waiting for? He thought about the dreams he once had, the ideas he never pursued, the opportunities he never took, the risks he never accepted. Suddenly, a painful realization struck him. Life wasn't waiting for him. Life was moving forward without him. The clock had never stopped ticking. The years had never paused. The perfect moment had never arrived, and it never would. A few days later, he visited a small park. There, he noticed an elderly man sitting quietly on a bench. The old man seemed peaceful, calm, content. The two began talking. After a while, the man shared his frustration. He spoke about all the things he wanted to do, all the dreams he had postponed, all the years he had spent waiting. The old man listened carefully. Then he smiled and said, "Do you know what the biggest lie in life is?" The man shook his head. The old man replied, "That someday is guaranteed." The words hit him like a wave. The old man continued, "When I was young, I waited too. I waited for confidence. I waited for certainty. I waited for the perfect opportunity. But life taught me something. The people who change their lives aren't the ones who wait for perfect conditions. They're the ones who begin before they're ready." The man sat in silence. For the first time, he understood. His problem wasn't lack of time. His problem wasn't lack of resources. His problem wasn't lack of opportunity. His problem was fear disguised as preparation. The next morning, nothing magical happened. The sky didn't open. A sign didn't appear. He didn't suddenly feel confident. He didn't suddenly feel ready. But something had changed. Instead of waiting, he took one small step. Just one. Not a giant leap. Not a dramatic transformation. One small step, then another, and another. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The progress was slow, sometimes frustrating, sometimes uncomfortable. But for the first time in years, he was moving. And movement, no matter how small, was more powerful than endless waiting. Many people spend their lives standing at the starting line. They wait for confidence before taking action. But confidence comes from action. They wait for certainty before moving forward. But certainty rarely exists. The truth is simple. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need permission. You don't need guarantees. You only need the courage to take the first step, because life isn't changed by waiting. Life is changed by beginning. Years later, the man looked back on the decision that transformed his life. It wasn't a big decision. It wasn't a dramatic moment. It was simply the day he stopped waiting. And perhaps that's the lesson for all of us. The opportunity you've been waiting for may never arrive. The confidence you're seeking may never appear. The perfect moment may never come. But your life can still change today, the moment you decide to begin. Because the greatest tragedy is not failure. The greatest tragedy is reaching the end of your life and realizing you spent it waiting to live